Hi, friends. Good morning. Today is Saturday, the 6th of December, 2014. I'm Anna Koyman. This Fox News alert. Another American murdered by terrorists as we went in to set him free. We're live with the breaking details.
Well, as protests continue in the wake of a no indictment in the Eric Garner case, New York City Bill de Blasio ordering a retraining of the entire NYPD. But are cops really the problem? Former Governor Mike Huckabee has another theory. The problem starts at home. Details ahead.
Because mornings are better with friends.
Hi, this is Big George Foreman, and you're watching Fox and Friends. It's a knockout in the morning.
Oh, boy. Big George Foreman.
I love the George Foreman grill. I must use that twice a week on food.
It is great.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet him. He's a tough guy.
He named all his kids George Foreman.
That's easy.
It's my kind of guy.
That's easy.
Peter Johnson Jr., ladies and gentlemen.
I'm happy to be with you and you and you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you. Honored to be into your home.
We're getting right to that Fox News alert that Anna told you about. Breaking overnight, the American photojournalist held hostage by al-Qaeda in Yemen was murdered.
Luke Summers murdered by terrorists during a failed rescue attempt. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel holding a press conference right now in Afghanistan on the issue.
And Molly Hennenberg is live in Washington with this breaking news and all the details. Molly, what can you tell us this morning?
Peter, Tucker, Anna, good morning. President Obama says he authorized a rescue attempt inside Yemen because there was information leading U.S. authorities to believe that 33-year-old Luke Summers' life was in, quote, imminent danger. And part of the calculation, the president said, was that al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, AQAP, put out a video this week threatening to kill Summers within 72 hours if their demands were not met. The president confirmed in a statement early this morning that Summers and another non-American hostage being held by AQAP were killed. He said, quote, the United States strongly condemns the barbaric murder of Luke Summers at the hands of al-Qaeda terrorists during a rescue operation conducted by U.S. forces in Yemen in partnership with the Yemeni government. On behalf of the American people, I offer my deepest condolences to Luke's family and to his loved ones. Summers, a photojournalist, was kidnapped by AQAP in September 2013. A senior Yemeni national security official tells Fox that Summers was shot by the al-Qaeda militants, but survived the initial raid and was badly injured when U.S. Special Forces got to him. This Yemeni official says Summers died as he was being transported to another location for medical treatment. A South African aid organization, Gift of the Givers, says the other hostage who died in the raid was one of their workers. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel says several AQAP terrorists who had been holding Summers and others were killed in the mission, and that the rescue attempt took place in central Yemen. One other note this morning, one of the FBI's most wanted terrorists was killed in Pakistan, according to Pakistan's military. A senior Pakistani army officer says Adnan Shukri Juman, al-Qaeda's chief of global operations, was killed in Pakistan's tribal region. Shukri Juman had been indicted in the U.S. over a plot to bomb New York's subway system. The FBI had offered $5 million reward for his capture, but now, according to Pakistan, he's dead. Back to you all in New York.
All right, Molly. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Molly. Molly Hennenberg in Washington. Well, joining us now, as he does every Saturday at this time, we are proud to have former Governor Mike Huckabee on the couch with us.
Thank you very much. I join you whether you want me or not. I just show up.
And we always want you.
Always.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So
today.
what do you make? Okay, so you saw Hillary Clinton's comments.
Yes.
That we need to empathize with, and I'm not taking that out of context, she said that, and we need to respect our enemies, those who are fighting.
No, we need to hold them in contempt. You don't respect somebody that cuts the head off an innocent journalist. You don't have empathy for people. How do you have empathy, which means that you can identify with them? I cannot identify with people who think it's okay to brutally slaughter a totally innocent person and cut the heads off of children. There's no empathy there. No, that's the most ridiculously just asinine statement I think I've ever heard come out of a public official's mouth.
What kind of worldview would stimulate such a statement that you should reach out and hold hands with people that are trying to
cut
kill
your
you?
hand off or your head off?
Yeah.
No, I think what you have to do is recognize how evil they are, and you have to call it out for what it is, and then you have to say, one of us isn't going to survive this. And I've decided that you're the one who's not going to survive. That's what you got to say, because these are not people that want to sit down, have a cup of tea, and say, gee, I didn't see it your way until now. They're not going to get that. This is a clash between civilized people and barbarians. And we've got to stop kidding ourselves that they are like us, except just have some different views. That is naive nonsense.
All right, well, let's continue on this topic and talk about the icy relationship that's been evident between the White House and the Pentagon for some time. Gates and Panetta wrote the critical books of Obama. We've got outgoing Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel and Ashton Carter coming in. Is he going to be able to break into that tight circle and be able to shake hands with Susan Rice and the president a little easier?
Better men and others have not been able to. Let's hope he can, but look, let's not kid ourselves. The person really running policy at the White House is Valerie Jarrett. She, for all practical purposes, is the Defense Secretary, the Secretary of State, the head of the FBI, the Justice Department, the IRS, the OMB, the EPA. You know, and everything but FOX. So,
well, who in the White House is capable of micromanaging a defense secretary?
No one is capable of it. And one of the things you would want in a defense secretary is someone who is professional enough that you send them to do their job and you allow them the freedom to do it. Because if they don't have that kind of capacity, then it's not just that you're hurting them, you're hurting the entire military structure, because nobody has confidence in the leadership. You've got to have confidence in the leadership. And the president has to have someone with whom he has such a close relationship that they are almost like just one in their thoughts, their minds, and they meld together so that when the defense secretary speaks, he truly is speaking for the president and vice versa.
Great point.
Protests continue in New York City and in Ferguson. Are the problems that we're dealing with, are they racism problems, are they police problems, or are they family problems?
The easy thing is to blame the cops and say it's all about the cops. And look, it's heartbreaking to see some of the video that happened here. But let's try to be very, I think, politically incorrect but honest. We have a breakdown within our social structure in America, and it has accelerated since the early 60s when we decided that fatherhood isn't really all that important. And we started paying people to have babies out of wedlock. And Daniel Patrick Moynihan warned us in 1964, when he was a young lawyer in the Labor Department, that this was going to be an increasing problem. And that's back when unwed births were something like less than 25% of the African-American community. It's now over 50%, and overall, it's like 40% of the white community. And he said if this gets much worse, there's going to be a social meltdown. Now look what's happened. When you see kids raised in an atmosphere where they don't have both a mother and father who are educated and employed and committed to each other in a monogamous marriage, you see 75% increase in drug abuse. You see an 80% greater likelihood that they won't graduate school than their peers. The statistics are absolutely irrefutable. It doesn't mean that a kid growing up in a single-parent home can't make it. It just means that the odds are against him in a way that is staggering.
Well, then, I mean, there's really no debate about what you just said. Social science has weighed in conclusively.
Well, there's a lot of debate.
But the numbers are there.
The numbers are there.
So given that, why hasn't the president ever, one time in 6 years, not once, said, you know, you ought to get married before you have kids?
This is what I don't understand, because this president could be a phenomenal role model within the African-American community to say, get married, stay married, be there for your kids. Because you know what? I have so many disagreements with Barack Obama, but the one thing I think he's done a great job at, he's been a good father. He loves his daughters. He publicly and privately seems to be a good, loving father. God bless him for that. Why doesn't he use that powerful bully pulpit to speak about the importance of fatherhood?
Apart from changing the family structure, how do we improve things now? What message should our government and our society be saying to people in terms of responding to police, in terms of obeying police, in terms of saying, listen, I'm going to get arrested. I may not have done anything, but the government is saying that I need to come in and be held accountable for it. What do we say to folks?
I think on two sides. One, we need to make sure that the police do a thorough investigation, that they air out their laundry and let us see what's out there. And they need to have nothing but transparency when it comes to specifically this case with Garner. But on the other side, I think mothers and fathers need to sit down with their kids and say, look, if a policeman stops you, This is not a time to see how many curse words you've learned. This is not a time to see how tough you are. If you want to think the cop is wrong, then there'll be a time for that when we have an attorney and we go down to the police station and we file a complaint. But on the street, when he says stop, you stop. If he says show me your hands, you show him your hands. And you don't reach for his gun and you don't backtalk him, because there'll be a time when we'll take that up. But that's not the moment to do it.
As a lawyer and as a father, that is great advice.
That's a mom and dad thing, Peter.
It
goes back
and as
to
a
how
father, I say too,
I was raised that if I got in trouble with any authority, school, police, I was in bigger trouble at home. And we don't raise our kids to respect authority, and we raise them to rebel against authority, and we're reaping the results.
Governor Mike Huckabee.
Great to see you guys.
Great to see you as always. Governor Huckabee.
Thanks.